You've heard the news, and yes, it's super crazy. Cam Newton is the newest member of the Patriots. In the same offseason that the New England Patriots saw their 6-time Super Bowl winning quarterback Tom Brady walk away, they brought in another former MVP quarterback. The only time it's ever happened, because Patriots. Newton answered the biggest question of the offseason. What does the quarterback situation look like in New England? The Patriots return a stout defense that was easily the best in the league last season, and of course, Bill Belichick. Newton helped solidify the Patriots as a Super Bowl contender once again. This is why Cam Newton and the Patriots will win the Super Bowl. Before we talk about Cam Newton, I'd like to acknowledge that the majority of our viewers aren't subscribed to the channel. Jackson and I are both college students and hope to one day make this our full-time job. So please, if you enjoy, consider subscribing and helping our journey here on YouTube. Thank you and enjoy the video. The hottest topic going into the 2019 season was whether or not Tom Brady was going to remain in New England. The Patriots were coming off of their 5th Super Bowl since 2011 and had the AFC Championship every year during the span. Shockingly, they lost in the wild card round in 2019 to the Titans, and in the offseason, Brady left for the Buccaneers. Historic head coach Bill Belichick remains with the team, but now has to fill the void left by Brady. We've been waiting and wondering what the Patriots will do, and on June 28th, we got our answer when it was announced that former NFL MVP Cam Newton was heading to New England. Cameron Jarrell Newton was born on May 11th, 1989 in Atlanta, Georgia. Newton attended Westlake High School where he gained national recognition for his play. As a junior, he passed for 2,500 yards and 23 touchdowns and added 638 yards and 9 touchdowns on the ground. After his senior season with the Lions, Newton was rated by ESPN as the 9th best quarterback in the nation. He received offers from top schools like Georgia before opting to commit to Florida. Newton was a backup for the Gators in his freshman 2007 season, sitting behind Heisman winner Tim Tebow. He was set to do the same in 2008, but after coming in the season opener in relief of Tebow, Newton suffered an ankle injury and took a redshirt medical season. Over the 2-year span, Newton rushed for 4 touchdowns. During the 2008 season, Newton was arrested for felony burglary after stealing a laptop from another student. He faced potential expulsion from the university and decided to transfer. Newton ended up attending Blinn College in Brenham, Texas. As you'd expect a former top recruit in the nation to do, Newton put on a show in JUCO. He led the Buccaneers to the NJCAA National Championship after throwing for 2,833 yards and 22 touchdowns and rushing for 655 yards and 16 touchdowns on the year. He was the most recruited JUCO quarterback in the country and had a final 3 of Oklahoma, Mississippi State, and Auburn. Newton chose Auburn, and wow, the rest is history. To say the Tigers were good that year would be an understatement. Playing in a division where 4 of the 5 teams finished the year ranked in the top 15, Auburn went undefeated. Newton and the Tigers absolutely rolled through their competition and earned a spot in the SEC Championship. In the bout, Auburn steamrolled South Carolina 56-17 and earned a spot in the National Championship against Oregon. In the championship, Newton fumbled the ball late that allowed the Ducks to tie the game, but led the Tigers down the field to set up a last-second game-winning field goal. Not only did he win the National Championship, but he won the Heisman Trophy in an absolute landslide over second-place Andrew Luck. Newton passed for 2,589 yards and 28 touchdowns to 6 interceptions and added 1,409 yards and 20 touchdowns rushing. Newton was the unanimous first overall selection at the 2011 NFL Draft. His unreal scrambling skill and ability to break tackles at his large 6'6", 250-pound frame helped him win over the Carolina Panthers, who took him with the first pick. Newton was a stud from day one in Carolina, throwing for over 400 yards in his debut, an NFL record. In his historic rookie campaign, Newton passed for a rookie record 4,051 yards and broke the rushing touchdown record with 14. He added 21 touchdowns and threw 17 interceptions. Newton was named Offensive Rookie of the Year and made his first Pro Bowl. Additionally, he was given the nickname Superman from his celebration and was rated number 40 on the NFL Top 100 list. Newton continued to improve over the following 3 seasons, averaging 3,458 yards, 20.3 touchdowns, and 12.3 interceptions. By 2015, he was one of the best players in the NFL, but the best was yet to come. Newton signed a 5-year, $103 million extension ahead of a season where he and the Panthers had one of the best regular seasons in NFL history. Carolina started the year 14-0 and went to the playoffs 15-1. Newton was simply sensational and earned MVP for his performance, throwing for 3,837 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. He added 10 touchdowns on the ground. The Panthers cruised cruised to the Super Bowl where they faced off against the Broncos, but the dominant Denver defense was too much to handle as the Panthers lost. After a ridiculous season, everything went downhill from there. Newton and the Panthers struggled over the next 3 years, with Newton averaging 3,402 yards, 21.7 touchdowns, and 14.4 interceptions. What has essentially led to the departure of Newton from Carolina is the piling up of injuries. He underwent surgery in 2017 for a torn rotator cuff, and the following season, he dealt with a nagging shoulder injury that hindered his play. In 2019, he missed time and only played in 2 games due to a Lisfranc fracture in his foot. He recorded 572 yards and an interception. With the firing of longtime head coach Ron Rivera, the Panthers brought in Matt Rule this offseason. Ultimately, it was time for a new start in Carolina. They signed former Rookie of the Year Teddy Bridgewater to a 3-year, $63 million deal, and with it, released Newton. After over 3 months of searching, Newton finally found a home in New England. Newton's new deal with the Patriots has a $1.05 million base with only $550,000 guaranteed, but that doesn't tell the full story. His incentives can bring the maximum amount of the contract up to $7.5 million, but it's like Newton said on Instagram, it's not about the money. It's about respect. This works out perfectly for the Patriots, who have less than $1 million of cap space. Newton, on the other hand, was reported in the offseason to be willing to wait until he could secure a job where he could compete for a starting job, and he's found it. The injury concerns are one of the biggest talking points when you discuss Newton. For starters, Newton has only played in 2 games over the last year, and it's extremely likely that he is completely healthy. And if he isn't, the Patriots have Jarrett Stidham waiting in the shadows for a reason. Newton will bring an interesting new feel in New England. Brady is without a doubt one of the best players in league history, but in terms of athleticism, the two aren't comparable. Brady ran a 5.28 40-yard dash, and that was over 20 years ago. Newton ran a 4.59. For an example of how ridiculous that is for a quarterback, Derrick Henry ran a 4.54. Newton brings a mobile style that we haven't seen in New England. Some people seem worried about his new team and how he fits in. That being said, why would you run the same system with Newton? Newton brings a different type of explosiveness and surprise that Brady never had. The best explanation of how different the two are can be stated in one fact. Tom Brady has been in the NFL for 20 years, and his longest career run is for 22 yards. Newton has played in the league for 9 years, and his longest run thus far was a 72-yard run that he capped off by flipping into the end zone. In fact, Newton is about 100 rushing yards away from having the second most in a career for a quarterback. There's no doubt that Cam Newton was fantastic in his 2015 MVP season, but don't let his defense go unnoticed. The Panthers gave up the 4th least number of yards on the year, helping a Super Bowl run. In New England, Newton was step in behind the best defense in the NFL. Last year, the Patriots gave up a league best 14.1 points per game, 2.1 points less than the Bills at second. A defense that bolsters elite talents like Stephon Gilmore, Dante Hightower, and Jamie Collins is a major upgrade for Newton. The most important reason why the Patriots may win the Super Bowl is simple: Bill Belichick. Belichick has a ridiculous .685 winning percentage and has the 3rd most wins in NFL history. In the postseason, he's made his worth, with the most wins in postseason history by a head coach. And who could forget? Dude has 8 Super Bowl rings. Call me crazy, but old Bill has certainly earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to football. Remember, he has something to prove too, that he can win without Brady. The way the Patriots won with Brady in the past was different than we've seen in years past. They didn't rely heavily on their quarterback making ridiculous plays or having to carry the team on his back like we've seen from stars like Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Instead, Brady ran a perfectly executed system formulated by Belichick to get results. Along with their stout defense that Belichick has run for years, it worked wonders for 2 decades. It goes without saying that Brady is just different. The question with Newton is if he can limit mistakes enough and run the system well enough to get results, and if Belichick and offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels can formulate a new system that will take advantage of the athleticism of Newton that wasn't present with Brady. Remember, even when Brady hasn't played over the last 2 decades, they've still won. New England went 11-5 in 2008 under Matt Castle, and in 2016 without Brady due to suspension, Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett combined to go 3-1. If history has told us anything, Belichick can continue to win no matter who is behind center. The Patriots have dominated the AFC East and haven't won the division only 2 times in the last 19 years. The road to winning the division in the AFC East is an easier path path than the majority of the NFL in 2020. No juggernaut Chiefs or Ravens in the way. The Jets are likely to be awful, and the Dolphins are in a rebuild. That leaves one true team to compete for the division, the Bills. The Bills have lost the last 7 meetings and have struggled against Belichick. Buffalo has a good young quarterback in Josh Allen and a stout defense, but flipping a switch to be the best isn't easy. Cam Newton highlights an interesting new era in New England post Tom Brady. New England may have a new quarterback, but much of the roster is the same. Bill Belichick is still standing strong with something to prove, and he's certainly earned the benefit of the doubt. As for Newton, he's made a huge impact in Carolina, winning an MVP and headlining one of the greatest seasons in NFL history. But his legacy isn't complete without a Super Bowl victory. The future is bright in New England, and Newton might just secure that long-awaited ring.